guys, it's Paradise and welcome back to another Monster Hunter Wilds video and our Weapon Workshop tutorial series. This is a series where we go over everything you would want to know about the weapon, from its basic moves all the way to your main combos and recommendations. This includes how the weapon works and the theory behind them, and we'll have you covered with a Weapon Workshop tutorial for each of the 14 weapons in the game. But today we'll be focusing on what the community has dubbed the most technical weapon, the Charge Blade. Now if you guys do enjoy these videos, a like, comment, or share would be super appreciated, as we put a ton of work into each and every one of these guides. Now let's get into things by breaking down the flow and covering the basics, with a more in-depth look at each move later on. The Charge Blade is basically two weapons in one that works in harmony with each other. You have a sword and shield mode to build Phials and an axe mode to consume these Phials for devastating damage. By default, drawing the weapon will start you in sword and shield mode. From here, your attacks will start to charge your Phials, as seen by these little bottles. At first, they will highlight yellow, and then red, and eventually bright red, but this bright red color is something you definitely want to avoid, as it makes your weapon attacks bounce. The basic flow of things is generally to charge your Phials to red and then store them, turning the little bottle icons white. Or if you charge and store them a second time, this will overcharge the Phials, making them a glowing yellow color with a little overflowing effect. This powers up your Phial damage and will increase your shield boost duration when used to charge your shield. But for now, remember, by default, yellow charge will give you 3 Phials, and red charge will give you all 5 Phials, excluding the load shell skill that will increase this. Phials are used to both enhance the Charge Blade itself, as well as allowing you to dish out explosive swings in axe mode, as well as your powerful amped or super amped element Discharge attack for massive damage pops. There's 2 types of Phials in the game: impact for stun and exhaust damage that can KO a monster if you hit their head, as well as element Phials that will add the corresponding element to the damage. On the screen, you will see your various boosted mode icons. The shield represents your shield element boost, which is activated by consuming Phials into the shield. This enhances your guard, adds Phial effects to your guards and shield attacks, increases your axe mode damage, and allows you to perform the powerful super amped element Discharge. The sword boost mode gives your sword attacks Phial effects, increases its damage, and prevents the weapon from bouncing. And then you have the power axe mode, activated through successful focus strikes, perfect guard and power clash follow-ups, as well as mount finishers. This reduces the amount of Phials you consume with certain axe attacks by holding down your attack button. It lets you soar through monsters, dealing rapid damage on your axe swings, while also reducing the Phials that are consumed with various axe attacks. Furthermore, the Charge Blade boasts one of the coolest guarding abilities in the game, Guard Points. This transforms various parts of your combos into defensive opportunities. This is currently outshined by the new Perfect Guard system, and there's even a power clash mechanic in Wilds that the Charge Blade can make use of, which altogether give the Charge Blade exceptional offensive and defensive capabilities. So, mastering the Charge Blade requires precise Phial management, perfecting the transitions between your modes, and knowing when to unleash your most powerful attacks. It's a weapon that rewards patience and precision, offering one of the highest skill ceilings in the Monster Hunter series. Now, if you want to hit the ground running and get straight to hunting, here's the general flow and combos you should try. Start the fight in sword and shield mode using your standard Phial builder combo by holding circle into triangle plus circle for shield thrust, and then another circle hold. This will have you build charge to red, and then bank this charge into your Phials with R2 plus circle, but keep circle held to execute the new element boost, instantly banking those Phials to power up your shield, and it ends with a guard point, so you can even time this to block an incoming attack. Now you've done your first Phial charge rotation and your shield is boosted, so it's time to build our Phials again and set up for axe mode. Repeat the Phial building combo, but notice this time that the shield thrust is enhanced with an extra Phial hit from the shield boost. Once charged to red, bank those Phials with R2 plus circle, and at this point, we hopefully have a red wound available to use a focus strike on. This not only deals great damage, but also grants us power axe mode. If no wound is available, just keep attacking to build one, or go for a perfect guard by blocking with R2 just as you're about to get hit, and follow it up with triangle to perform Savage Axe Slash. This also grants us Power Axe mode. From here, the fun really begins. We can do our infinite Power Axe mode combo with a circle, circle, and triangle, and remember to hold these down so you get the extra attack damage as you soar at the monster. This alternates between Element Discharge I, Element Discharge II, and Rising Slash, without any Phials being consumed thanks to Power Axe mode. In larger openings, you can instead opt for a slightly longer and more damaging combo that will slowly consume our Phials. With 4 circle inputs, one after another, and you can hold these down for that extra damage, you can rotate between Element Discharge I, Element Discharge II, the Amped Element Discharge, and the Amped Element Discharge Follow-up, which increases in damage and motion value as you go through this combo. This is best used if you can connect each hit of the monster to a weak point such as its head, so it requires enemies being knocked over or stationary to fully capitalize. Finally, if you want to utilize the powerful Super Amped Element Discharge attack, the best way to loop this move is via regular guarding, perfect guarding, or guard pointing any attack, and following up with triangle plus circle after you already have Phials and your shield charged, as we've already gone over. This will deal a lot of damage but will consume all your Phials, so you will need to loop your Phial building combo in between executions of the Super Amped Element Discharge. For more advanced players, you will be utilizing morphing, positioning, and guard points throughout this flow, which is generally mastered with practice and learning the whole moveset. So with that in mind, let's go over the moves. We'll start with the various ways to unsheath and morph your weapon, as you can enter combat in either sword or axe mode. By pressing triangle from neutral, you will simply unsheath your weapon into a neutral stance, which is good if you are standing next to a sleeping monster or something like that. By pressing a directional triangle from neutral, you will perform sword forward slash, instantly drawing into this attack, which is more powerful than your standard triangle opener weak slash. From neutral, you can also draw into axe mode by pressing R2, or aim it with directional R2. This is perfect for getting straight into your axe combos if you already have Phials or power axe mode. Note, this is also a guard point for the brief second that your shield flashes white as you draw it, meaning you can time this with an incoming attack to guard it with increased effectiveness than a regular guard, but more on this later. Now let's go over your standard morph attacks to switch between your different modes, with a few more advanced ones later on. Firstly, while in sword mode, pressing R2 plus triangle will execute Morph Slash to switch you from sword to axe mode. This is a front-loaded guard point, the same with the neutral axe draw attack. You can aim this move better with a directional input. While in axe mode though, you can simply press R2 to execute Morph Slash to switch from axe to sword mode. This has an end-loaded guard point, and as mentioned before, directional input will allow you to aim this better. Now you know the basics to drawing and morphing, let's go through your moveset starting with the sword mode. To begin with, pressing triangle 3 times will execute your weak slash, return stroke, and round slash. This is your standard triangle combo, although generally you won't be using this all too much. It's worth noting the final hit, the round slash, ends in a guard point and is the strongest hit of the combo. The return stroke, the second stage of your triangle combo, can also be performed after dodging, allowing you to skip the initial weak slash. If you follow up an attack with a dodge to the left or right to the side, you will do a side hop, which can be followed up with a triangle for round slash that ends in a guard point. This can even be looped. By pressing triangle plus circle, you will instead perform the forward slash, the same move as the directional draw attack from earlier. This is a forward-moving sword attack that closes a little distance and is stronger than your standard weak slash. You can also use this at the beginning of your triangle combo to skip using the weak slash, as this is a bit stronger. Next we have an important move, the fade slash. This is a directional slash with a circle input that can be used following up after other attacks. It's great for repositioning mid-combo, to move out of danger, or to get closer to a weak point of the monster. You can do this in any direction, and traditionally you would use this backwards to give you some space for your AED or SAED combo. But with the changes to combo strings, this is no longer useful to go into SAED. After any slash or charged attack, you can use triangle plus circle to perform a shield thrust. This is a great way to cancel out of your sword mode combos, but also deals Phial damage when your shield is boosted, making it great for adding some KO damage to your combos with impact Phials or extra elemental damage with elemental Phials. This move is also part of your best Phial building combo when followed up after a circle that is held for your charged double slash. So let's talk about charging, because there is some nuance to it. Quickly holding and releasing circle will perform the charged rising slash, a weaker version of the charged double slash. The best way to get the timing right is from the visual and audio cue of the red flash on the sword. If timed correctly, this executes the charged double slash, which is generally what you want to be doing. Holding for too long or too short will perform the weaker version. Holding circle and releasing at the right time, followed up by a triangle plus circle shield thrust, is a great Phial builder to loop. Alternatively, you can follow up with a triangle to go straight to Roundslash, which is the final and strongest hit of your standard triangle combo, and ends with a guard point. This generally hits for slightly more and ends with that guard point, but if your shield boost is active, the extra Phial hit on the shield thrust actually hits for more overall instead. So you can alternate between these based on your shield charge. Now let's talk about how you charge your shield and sword, which first involves guarding, so let's go over that. Holding R2 is your standard block in sword mode. This is similar to a guard point, however guard points are actually a bit stronger and are executed automatically during certain moves and combo steps, and is only when your shield flashes white for that split second. Your easiest to access guard point move will be your Morph Slashes, particularly your neutral to axe mode draw, or your morph from sword mode to axe mode. Do note though, guarding and guard points allow for follow-up attacks that can skip combo steps. Your most notable follow-up from guarding or guard pointing is the ability to go straight into an amped element discharge with triangle and circle, or if you have shield charge, this will go straight into the super amped element discharge. Perfect guards, however, allow you to do this and more. You perfect guard by pressing the R2 button just as you're about to get hit by a monster, triggering a perfect guard. You can even perfect guard a monster's roar. However, perfect guards and guard points are still different. Perfect guards are generally better as they have a higher guard level and allow you to follow up with a triangle to perform the Savage Axe Slash, which is one of few ways to get your power axe mode, more on this later. Now you understand guarding, perfect guarding, and guard points, let's go over charging to bank your Phials. After you have either yellow or red glowing Phials, you can bank them with R2 and circle together in sword mode. Yellow will give you 3 Phials, meanwhile banking red will give you 5. You can even overcharge your Phials by banking additional charges on top. It's worth noting, the Load Shell skill will increase the amount of Phials that you charge from yellow or red, with yellow instead giving 5 and red fully overcharging your Phials instantly, making it a great skill to use. There's 2 ways to activate your shield mode. The first is by cancelling any amped element discharge by pressing R2 to perform the elemental Roundslash. This stops the amped element discharge from executing and instead banks all of your Phials into your shield, empowering your shield blocks and attacks with extra Phial procs for damage, and it slightly increases axe mode damage and is also required to do your SAED. That's the super amped element discharge. Wilds adds an even faster way to execute this move with the shield element boost that has 2 ways to activate. The first is when using charge with R2 plus circle, but keep the circle held during this animation to perform the shield element boost. This instantly banks the Phials into your shield and is even a guard point on the white flash. Alternatively, you can do this mid-combo after a shield thrust by pressing R2 plus triangle plus circle. It's worth noting that shield mode with 5 regular Phials lasts 125 seconds, while 5 overcharged Phials increases this to 200 seconds, making each overcharged Phial add an additional 15 seconds of time to your shield charge. Once your shield is boosted, using triangle after a charge will do a return stroke that actually adds a Phial to the hit because it's interacted with the boosted shield. And then we have the sword boost mode. This enhances your sword attacks with Phial effects, boosting its damage and preventing it from deflecting. To charge your sword, you need to have shield boost already active and then simply hold triangle while using a charge. This will have you charge the sword into the shield and keep the button held until the sword and shield click together, and then release for a condensed elemental slash. Releasing too early will simply perform a return stroke. Now before moving on to our axe moveset, let's go over power axe mode. This mode causes any attacks that are held in X mode, including your amped element discharge, to momentarily stick to the monster and soar rapidly at them. In Axe mode, element discharge circle attacks, amped element discharges, and the amped element discharge follow-up will consume 1 phial per use, but when power axe mode is active, it halves your phial consumption. Element discharge attacks with circle will not consume any phials, allowing for near infinite element discharge looping attacks. Here's how to activate power axe mode. One method is via a mount finisher, which requires creating a red wound while mounting, and then using a weapon attack to pop that wound, which will soar at the monster and buff you with power axe mode. The second is through a perfectly timed guard follow-up, so guard a monster just as you're about to get hit with R2 and then follow up with triangle for the Savage Axe Slash. You can even follow up this move afterwards with circle to go straight into Element Discharge II, skipping Element Discharge I. Furthermore, you can do this even after perfectly guarding a self-placed barrel bomb. By placing the bomb, drawing your weapon from neutral, and guarding just as it explodes allows you to follow up with triangle, allowing you to get power axe mode without any external factors, making this your only option to self-activate power mode. Power clashes are also an option to lead into Savage Axe Slash when guarding, perfect guarding, or guard pointing enough attacks from the monster. Power clashes are like a status. You need to build up a hidden number until it hits a threshold, which will then start a power clash. During power clashes, mash the triangle button to win, and then afterwards press triangle to go into Savage Axe Slash. If you don't want to do this after a power clash or you already have power axe mode, you can instead follow up with an AED, but sadly not an SAED. Finally, we have your Focus Strike. This is called a Focus Slash, and R1 is double reddened. It's a leaping attack that closes a short distance and slashes the monster. You can do this from both sword or axe mode, the attack will be the same. If you connect to a red wound, you will execute the second part of this attack as you soar at the monster rapidly, granting you power axe mode as well. Power axe mode will last you 2 minutes without any other factors, and remains on you even if you run out of phials, but note that the super amped element discharge will still use and dump all of your phials. Now it's time to go over the axe moveset. Pressing triangle while stationary will execute Rising Slash, a high-reaching upward slash, great for hitting the monster's head or tail if they're above you, and note that this no longer launches friendly players into the air. Doing this move directionally will do your Dash Slam that lets you run forwards briefly and slam downwards. This is great for gap closing and repositioning, and note that both your Rising Slash and Dash Slam can lead into different directional slashes. First is your Lateral Slash, with left or right directional inputs, and triangle to perform a sideways horizontal slash in the direction you input. Then with a backwards input and triangle, you can do a Backstep Slash, which has you reposition backwards and do a quick upward slash. Then things get even more exciting with our elemental discharge attacks and our combos. When stationary, pressing circle will execute our basic element discharge I, which is a spinning slash that uses 1 stored phial for an additional proc of damage. However, power axe mode stops the phial being consumed, but still allows the damage from it. Using a directional input with circle allows for the rushing element discharge I. This is a similar move, but with a small repositioning sprint, which is great for when the monster moves, but note the stationary version is a bit faster to execute if you're already on a weak point. After either element discharge I, you can follow up with another circle input to do element discharge II. This is a similar move but swings the axe on the target twice, making it all around a stronger move, and it has higher motion values, plus it still only consumes 1 phial without power axe mode, otherwise it's still free. Remember, you can skip straight into this after doing any Savage Axe Slash. And then we have the Amped Element Discharge. This can be used during axe mode with triangle and circle together to instantly execute one of your strongest single hitting moves with a high motion value attack. But note it does have a long windup. It also will consume a phial if available, or half of a phial in power axe mode. It strikes diagonally from high left to lower right, and you can also perform this after an element discharge 2 in axe mode with an additional circle input. Alternatively, in sword and shield mode, you can press triangle and circle together 3 times that will go into an AED as well. It's worth noting that AED will now allow you to stay in axe mode afterwards, where previously in older games it would force you in sword mode. After an amped element discharge, you can now follow up with the amped element discharge follow-up with an additional circle input afterwards. This performs an awesome looking spin attack that will consume a whole phial if available, or half of a phial in power axe mode. Think of this like an optional additional combo step after an amped element discharge. The hit itself is very strong with high motion values, making it worthwhile if the opening is there. Finally, we have the super amped element discharge, your most flashy and heavy hitting attack that consumes all phials to strike the target with a massive blow and rapid phial explosions. This is available when your shield boost is active and can be used in a few ways. The first is after either an amped element discharge or an amped element discharge follow-up by pressing triangle plus circle. The other way to do this is after a guard, perfect guard, or guard point while you have shield charge by simply pressing triangle plus circle after getting hit. Note that power axe mode will not reduce the phials that are consumed with this move, and it will use all phials available. Take note that any super amped element discharges following up a guard, guard point, or perfect guard can be cancelled into an amped element discharge using backwards and triangle. Regular SAEDs through combo strings, however, cannot be cancelled. Note that overcharged phials deal additional damage, and it's worth noting that an SAED will end you in sword mode afterwards. So think of it like a finisher. For jump attacks, you have several options. From neutral in sword and shield mode, you can do a triangle input to perform a jumping slash, which will hit with your sword. Meanwhile, if you're in axe mode, a triangle or circle will instead execute a jumping slash. You can use R2 for a jumping Morph Slash, which will morph you into the other mode with their own respective Morph Slash. Note that axe attacks are heavier hitting than sword attacks, so they are preferable to building a mount on a monster. If there is no ledge nearby, you can always call your Sacred over and either do a Dismount Attack with triangle plus circle, which does a slash and shield thrust follow-up, or simply jump off your Sacred with X and use any of the previously mentioned jump attacks. Remember, axe attacks are ideal for building mount damage. When sliding, you can press triangle for a jumping rising slash with your sword. This launches you into the air, allowing for an additional follow-up with triangle or R2 for your jumping Morph Slash. You can even guard as you slide if in danger. Also note that while mounted, you can use triangle up to 2 times to do a short combo of slashes while remaining mounted that will build Phial charge. When mounted on a monster though, R1 for your weapon attack will do a double strike with your sword, and remember, hitting a wound with this will do your mount finisher, granting you power axe mode. Now that you know all of the tools available to you, let's put it all together with some useful combos that range from basic to more advanced. Position yourself near a monster and use your charge circle input followed up by a shield thrust with triangle and circle, and then another charge circle input. This will instantly fill your phials to red even without focus for a quick and reliable phial building combo. This can be iterated on with a follow-up to the R2 plus circle charge, as when you bank your phials you can hold circle to instantly do the shield element boost in one smooth combo. This is perfect for enhancing your guard, adding phials to your shield blocks and shield thrust, and to increase your axe attack and enable SAED. However, if you instead want to bank your phials and start DPSing in axe mode, you can follow up the Phial Builder combo with R2 and circle to bank, and then triangle plus circle for a shield thrust into another triangle plus circle to go straight into amped element discharge and transition into axe mode, as AED no longer forces you back to sword mode. Alternatively, you could go straight into your Element Discharge 1 combo by pressing R2 plus circle to bank those phials, and then pressing circle to go into Element Discharge 1 and then additional circle for Element Discharge 2, and so on. Remember, after you do a grounded Savage Axe mode, which is most easily accessed following a perfect guard with triangle, you can input a circle to skip straight to Element Discharge 2, the stronger of the 2 ED slashes. While in axe mode with power axe mode active, there's 2 bread and butter infinite combos to try. Using a circle attack, you can execute Element Discharge 1. Remember to hold it for the extra damage as with the additional inputs. Follow up with a second held circle input for Element Discharge 2. And then after this, you can hold triangle to perform a rising slash. This can be looped infinitely for insane and repeatable damage. Plus, with Power Axe mode, you will not consume any phials during the ED 1 or 2, making it infinite until Power Axe mode runs out. In a similar vein to the previous combo, you can instead use all circle inputs up to 4 times to cycle through Element Discharge 1, 2, Amped Element Discharge, and finally Amped Element Discharge Follow-up, and then repeat. Remember to hold all of your inputs for the extra Savage Axe damage ticks. This lets you loop all of your strongest hitting moves together, excluding SAED. This requires openings to safely execute back-to-back, but is still strong and satisfying to pull off with very high motion value hits. Each rotation only uses one single Phial with Power Axe mode, as AED and AED Follow-up only consume half a Phial each. Armor and weapon skills are a crucial part of improving your playstyle. Here are some core skills to get you started with. Load Shells enhances your Phial charge amount on yellow and red to get 5 Phials instantly on yellow, or full overcharged Phials instantly on red. Weakness Exploit increases your affinity when striking weak points and gives even more on wounds, helping maximize your damage. Burst increases your damage output when attacking in quick succession, which synergizes very well with the Charge Blade's Power Axe mode combos. Offensive Guard offers a substantial percentage attack boost of 15% after a perfect guard, which you want to be utilizing anyway. Artillery boosts your Phial explosive damage for impact Phials, making SAED and AED more potent. Maintaining white sharpness allows you to keep your damage as high as possible. Skills like Handicraft, Protective Polish, and Razor Sharp will help with this. Razor Sharp makes it exceptionally easy, so you should definitely try it if you get a good decoration. Overall, these are just foundational skills to get you started, and additional set bonuses and new skills being introduced in future updates may help refine the Charge Blade playstyle even more, so keep experimenting. Let's go over some helpful tips now. Always keep on top of your Phials as your damage drops off without them, even while in Power Axe mode. Also remember to utilize overcharged Phials for longer shield boost duration and more Phial damage, and remember shield boost does slightly increase your Axe mode damage, and using Load Shells is perfect for easier Phial management, so you can instantly overcharge all your Phials with one red charge. If leaning into the Power Axe mode playstyle, remember that Element Discharge 1 and 2 do not consume Phials while you have Axe mode active, so these are spammable and loopable with minimal downtime to refill those Phials. Just remember to hold those attack inputs to activate the soaring effect for extra damage on each swing. Remember to utilize Focus mode during Power Axe attacks, Amped Element Discharges, and Super Amped Element Discharges, because you can completely redirect the outgoing hit up to 180 degrees, making it super easy to hit weak points now. Perfect Guards are a powerful tool to take advantage of, both to mitigate incoming damage and knockback, but also to follow up with the Savage Axe Slash, giving you Power Axe mode instantly. Remember, any guard point, or perfect guard can also lead into AED or SAED, so if you want to be using those regularly, just guard attacks. Note that your Phials are unaffected by your sharpness level, but your hits are, so keep on top of your sharpness, and some monsters, especially gold crowns, can be quite large, meaning their head or tail is hard to hit. So utilize your Axe Rising Slash, Axe Dash Slash, Axe Backstep Slash, and even Amped Element Discharge to be able to reach those hard to hit spots. Remember that perfect guards are actually more efficient than guard points in how much damage they block. Furthermore, you can actually perfect guard monster roars as an alternative way to grant Power Axe mode with that Savage Axe Slash follow-up. Also, try using Focus mode while guarding or prepping for a perfect guard, so you face the direction of the monster because you have to face them to block their attacks. So Focus mode makes guarding super easy. Remember, you can easily build up mounts by jumping off your Sacred and hitting R2 for a jumping Axe Slash, which will hit for more than your sword jumping attack. While doing this, if you have Power Axe mode active, you can hold down the attack button to soar through the monster as you do this jump attack. This not only adds a bunch of extra damage to it, but makes mounting even faster. Thank you all so much for watching, and we truly hope this helps you on your journey to mastering the Charge Blade in Monster Hunter Wilds. We poured a ton of time into this, testing out strategies, combos, and making sure the information here is top notch. We encourage you to take what you've learned, head out into the field, and start experimenting. Find the techniques and combos that click for your playstyle, because the Charge Blade is so much fun and so versatile, don't be afraid to get creative. Remember, hunts are a marathon and not a sprint. The more practice with the weapons you have, the more deadly you will become. So keep honing those skills, and I'll see you out there on the field. Here at Arekkz Gaming, we're two friends who love to play games. You have me, Paradise, as well as 26.
Our goal is to keep the videos as concise as possible by cutting out any of the fluff and focusing on what really matters with high quality videos.
So make sure you're subscribed down below for more videos on your favorite games coming very, very soon.